Greetings and welcome to the Sleep with Science channel. This evening, we venture into the timeless and remarkable realm of geology, a profound history of our world etched in rock. Ages before stars received names or seas had limits, our planet was already in motion, transforming itself in quietude. Peaks ascended and fell, waters disappeared and reappeared. Land masses drifted over luminous rivers of molten stone. The terrain under your feet is incomprehensibly ancient, yet it continues to shift, continues to pulse, continues to evolve. This is geology's narrative, a tale of flame and liquid, of birth and devastation, of splendor that requires countless millennia to emerge. Below each footfall, inside each stone, there lie murmurs of eruptions, ice sheets, and celestial bodies long extinguished. If these tranquil explorations resonate with you, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. It guides others toward this space as well, one drowsy spirit at a time. Right now, simply inhale. Allow your eyelids to feel weighted, and permit the primordial earth to hold your mind. Let us commence. Our planet's outer layer is more delicate than you'd expect. If you were able to reduce Earth to apple dimensions, the crust, that rigid exterior covering we inhabit, would measure no thicker than the fruit's peel. This notion seems nearly unbelievable. Nevertheless, it's accurate. The land masses and seafloors combined constitute a layer averaging merely around 30 kilometers in depth below continents and under 10 below the waters. Below that sits the mantle, an immense zone of gradually moving stone that comprises the majority of our planet's size and weight. This crust drifts atop the mantle like delicate vessels, floating on viscous flows directed and altered by tectonic plate activity. Peaks, depressions, and deep ocean valleys represent minuscule undulations across the exterior of a colossal rock sphere. All that we recognize, each woodland, metropolis, and sea, rests upon a layer so slender it might nearly vanish by comparison. Granite previously moved as fiery streams far below ground. Ages before it solidified into the rough stone we observe presently, granite pulsed with thermal energy. Far inside our planet's outer layer, liquid magma collected in concealed reservoirs, flowing like unhurried channels of flame. Across countless millennia, it cooled and formed crystals into the recognizable spotted stone that today constitutes mountain cores. Every speck of quartz and feldspar formerly glowed in a molten radiance before hardening permanently. When you pass your hand across granite, you're feeling the chilled remnants of that prehistoric movement preserved in time. Numerous of our world's magnificent terrains, from Yosemite's precipices to Scotland's highlands, were formed by granite ascending and crystallizing beneath the ground. It contains within itself the forbearance of our world itself, a testament that what seems permanent today was formerly luminous fluid, gradually metamorphosing under unfathomable force into something lasting and timeless. Diamonds may crystallize within moments when circumstances align. Most diamonds require eons to develop far inside the mantle, created from carbon compressed and superheated beyond comprehension. Yet, the natural world holds surprises. In the most brutal conditions, carbon atoms can reorganize themselves into diamond nearly instantaneously. These abrupt changes occur kilometers below the ground, where heat surpasses that of liquid metal and compression exceeds what humanity can sustain for long. When eruptions propel these jewels skyward, they journey through slender stone conduits called kimberlites, bearing a chronicle from the depths of planetary genesis. Every diamond you encounter, regardless of its size, formerly dwelled in obscurity and temperatures so extreme they could liquefy steel, whether created gradually or within a geological instant. Each gem records an occasion when common carbon transformed into something remarkable. They represent nature's flawless documentation of metamorphosis. Emerging from turmoil and compression, ascending toward illumination, through the actual framework of our world. Certain peaks continue ascending more rapidly than your nails extend. Mountains seem timeless, yet they possess dynamic motion. Far below the exterior, crustal plates thrust and clash, propelling stone skyward fraction by fraction. Within the Himalayas and sections of the Andes, this gradual impact continues elevating summits more swiftly than your nails lengthen. What appears immobile actually belongs to an infinite pattern of elevation and wearing away. Atmospheric currents, moisture, and frozen water dismantle peaks particle by particle, while energies far beneath reconstruct them in a cadence that has unfolded across countless millions of years. A peak might appear stationary, yet if you could accelerate time's passage, you would observe it respiring, expanding skyward as landmasses converge. The bedrock under your stance might have formerly laid on the seafloor, transported heavenward across ages. These colossi demonstrate that our planet is never static, but in perpetual transformation, reconstituting itself even during our slumber. Whole landmasses drift like vessels on liquid stone. The terrain below us travels on a concealed ocean of liquid stone. Under the outer layer exists the mantle, a domain so superheated that rigid rock acts as an extraordinarily sluggish fluid. The landmasses sit upon this mantle as massive platforms of solid rock gliding over it through the ages. They shift, impact, and diverge at speeds of merely a few centimeters annually. Yet across countless millennia, these minuscule displacements restructure our world. Seas expand and contract. Mountain chains emerge, and whole atmospheric patterns change. The continents we recognize are voyagers perpetually in transit, although the progression remains imperceptible to us. This unhurried wandering is what formally combined every landmass into the supercontinent Pangaea, and will someday merge the landmasses once more. Our world pulses with activity under its tranquil exterior, and we remain travelers upon its enormous migrating plates, transported over geological waters, never sensing the displacement. Our planet's exterior continuously renews itself via tectonic plate mechanics. Nothing atop the planetary surface endures forever. The land masses and ocean bottoms we observe currently belong to an unending sequence of breakdown and thaw, restoration termed plate tectonics, where plates clash, peaks ascend. Where they diverge, fresh oceanic crust develops as liquid stone surges skyward. In additional locations, one plate plunges under another and descends into the mantle, liquefying to rejoin the planet once more. Even the terrain under the waters originates, expands, and vanishes across a time frame of multiple tens of millions of years. Each sand particle, each precipice, each volcanic expanse belongs to this magnificent global pattern. Our planet is the sole sphere we recognize that regenerates itself so thoroughly, employing the gradual force of thermal energy and gravitational pull to maintain its exterior youthful. The world's covering never remains genuinely motionless, but endlessly discarding and reconstructing itself through silent, elegant movement. The Himalayas keep gaining elevation each passing year. Far beyond the cloud layer, the Himalayas persist in their ascent. Their expansion commenced approximately 50 million years back when the Indian landmass crashed into the Eurasian platform, folding the outer shell like creased material. That impact continues occurring, elevating the peaks skyward by several millimeters annually. The summits might seem permanent, yet their heights advance consistently heavenward, while atmospheric forces and ice masses sculpt them downward. Each vibration in the area, each profound seismic event, whispers of that tremendous compression ongoing. These peaks represent not artifacts of antiquity, but the active consequence of a continuing impact that started before humanity emerged. The identical impact that created Everest keeps transforming the terrain under countless individuals. Through their quiet elevation, the Himalayas demonstrate that our planet's strength is unhurried, persistent. and perpetually active, molding land masses as effortlessly as soft earth. Land masses move as rapidly as your hair elongates. If one measured a land mass's displacement, it would progress approximately as swiftly as your hair extends monthly. Nevertheless, across geological duration, that modest velocity reconstructs the whole planetary surface. Land masses glide atop the mantle, propelled by thermal circulation far inside our planet. The Atlantic Sea expands somewhat broader annually, whereas the Pacific gradually contracts. Within countless millennia, recognized cartography will become unidentifiable. Africa will shift nearer to Europe. Australia will migrate northward, and the land masses might eventually combine once more into one colossal territory. Gradual movement links the fossilized remains of prehistoric beings discovered across oceans and clarifies why mountain systems on distinct landmasses possess identical beginnings. The terrain seems firm, yet it belongs to a magnificent, ceaseless expedition that has never ceased since planetary formation. The ocean bottom is more recent than majority of the landmasses. Under the waters exists a concealed realm in continuous regeneration. Whereas the land masses contain stones billions of years ancient, the seafloor remains remarkably recent. Throughout mid-ocean ridges, liquid stone ascends, solidifies, and generates fresh crust that gradually expands externally. As it travels, it ultimately descends into the mantle at profound oceanic valleys where one platform slides under another. This regeneration indicates no oceanic crust endures beyond approximately 200 million years, a momentary interval in our planet's extensive chronicle. The land masses, conversely, are primordial survivors that have remained above the pattern of annihilation. If one could observe the planetary exterior across time, one would witness the oceans generate and disappear like the pattern of respiration. The seafloor represents the world's pulse, regenerating itself perpetually, a testament that even the most profound, obscure regions on our planet pulse with displacement and transformation. Magnetic bands across the ocean bottom chronicle our planet's prehistoric reversals. Throughout the expansive plateaus of the oceanic ground, the stones display patterns resembling barcoding. These alternating magnetic bands indicate occasions when our planet's magnetic field inverted orientation, with north and south exchanging positions. As fresh crust generates at mid-ocean ridges, minerals inside the lava synchronize with the world's magnetic field prior to their cooling and fixing in that orientation. Countless millennia afterward, another inversion creates the subsequent stripe, indicating the reverse direction. Through interpreting these bands, researchers can follow the chronicle of magnetic reversals, extending across multiple tens of millions of years. This finding represented one of the crucial elements that validated the concept of tectonic plates, revealing how the ocean bottom expands externally across time. Under the waters exists not disorder, but a flawlessly systematic documentation of the world's imperceptible energies inscribed in rock through magnetism, thermal force, and the gradual rhythm of geological duration. Stones can genuinely transform into magnets following solidification from lava. When liquid stone solidifies on our planet's exterior, something remarkable occurs. Minuscule fragments of iron and nickel inside the stone synchronize themselves with the world's magnetic field, resembling imperceptible directional indicators. After the lava solidifies and hardens, those magnetic orientations become locked perpetually, maintaining a documentation of the magnetic field's alignment at that specific moment. Researchers examine these organic magnets to chart the changing chronicle of our planet's poles. Each inversion, each drifting displacement of magnetic north becomes captured in stone, preserved as the world's liquid exterior hardens. These magnetic imprints constitute portions of how Earth scientists validated that land masses migrate and ocean bottoms expand. Within each volcanic stone exists a quiet documentation of our planet's magnetic rhythm, providing hints regarding prehistoric orientations and the imperceptible energies that mold the space surrounding our sphere. The world's recollection is magnetic, inscribed within the iron core of rock. Each eruption site on our planet links to a concealed magma reservoir. Deep under the exterior, each volcanic peak possesses a core that throbs with liquid flame. These subterranean reservoirs of magma represent enormous containers of molten stone, supplying eruptions that can transform terrains and modify atmospheres. Certain reservoirs are compact and near surface, others colossal and profound, extending far under the outer layer. Inside these chambers, crystals develop, vapors ascend, and compression intensifies until the stone overhead cannot continue containing it. Subsequently, with overwhelming force, the reservoir releases its intensity through fractures and openings, streaming lava and debris over the surface above. During intervals between eruptions, these containers stay concealed, gradually replenishing and developing. Contemporary instruments permit researchers to perceive their configurations employing seismic vibrations similar to ultrasound for our planet. Each volcanic formation belongs to this profound respiratory system, a testament that under tranquil landscapes and dormant peaks, there exist immense, luminous realms of liquid stone awaiting silently underneath. Certain volcanic outbursts persist for countless thousands of years. Not every eruption represents abrupt, explosive instances in time. Some remain persistent and continuous, streaming for periods beyond comprehension. When mantle columns discharge enormous quantities of magma, the outcome may constitute a flood basalt, an immense discharge of lava that persists for countless millennia. These outbursts can enter whole territories under kilometers of hardened stone. The Deccan traps in India and the Siberian traps in Russia represent massive remnants of such primordial flame. Throughout their duration, they discharge sufficient vapor and thermal energy to modify the world's atmospheric conditions and alter the trajectory of biological systems. Positioned upon one of these solidified lava expanses presently, it remains difficult to envision the liquid channels that formerly extended to each visible edge. They demonstrate that occasionally our planet reconstitutes itself not through detonations, but through the gradual, unstoppable cadence of flame extending infinitely under the exposed heavens. Basalt blankets majority of the oceanic ground in obscure compact strata. If one could traverse the sea bottom, each stride would contact basalt, an obscure, weighty stone created from flame. It develops when liquid substance from the mantle surges throughout mid-ocean ridges and solidifies rapidly upon meeting saltwater. The outcome represents an enormous, continuous crust extending over the oceanic depressions like the world's protective covering. Unlike the less dense stones of the land masses, basalt contains abundant iron and magnesium, providing it its profound hue and mass. Its rigid strata continuously regenerate as the ocean bottom expands externally, whereas aged portions descend into the mantle and liquefy once more. Every square unit of the oceanic ground has belonged to this perpetual pattern of generation and annihilation. Under the waters, the basalt maintains the chronicle of our planet's most unhurried displacements. Stratum atop stratum of solidified magma, establishing the tranquil base of the world's waters. Pillow lava solidifies in configurations that appear as subaqueous spheres. When lava surges under the ocean, it solidifies so rapidly that its external stratum hardens immediately, whereas liquid stone continues propelling from inside. This peculiar sequence generates rounded configurations that suggest cushions or spheres accumulated upon one another. These sleek, swollen structures termed pillow lava may blanket whole expanses of the ocean bottom. Each cushion represents a moment of fiery displacement preserved in an instant, demonstrating how liquid stone engages with frigid seawater. When investigators discover pillow lava on terrain, it indicates that the location formerly existed deep submerged. The vision of it seems uncanny and striking, as if the stone itself continues recalling streaming like fluid prior to being locked by the ocean's coldness. These configurations represent geological carvings of duration, evidence that even within the obscure, intense abysses, the world's inventive energies remain perpetually active and functioning. Obsidian represents volcanic glass solidified within seconds. During instances of explosive outburst, lava may solidify so swiftly that crystal formation never occurs. The outcome constitutes obsidian, an organic glass that shines with shadowy elegance. It feels sleek, keen, and mirror-like, created when liquid stone encounters frigid atmosphere or moisture and hardens nearly instantaneously. For millennia, humanity has treasured it for its flawless boundaries, fashioning knives, implements, and decorations. Nevertheless, under its reflective exterior rests a chronicle of radical transformation. Liquid flame halted during movement. Thermal energy converted into delicacy. Obsidian fractures readily, yet throughout the fracture, it displays remarkable curved designs termed conchoidal breaks, as though each break recalls the movement of the initial lava. This glassy stone represents one of geology's most striking paradoxes. Created through violence, nevertheless completely motionless, delicate, yet eternal. A fragment of flame captured perpetually within the quietude of rock. Certain stones maintain pockets of our planet's primordial atmosphere. Enclosed inside the most minuscule cavities of stone, researchers have uncovered tiny pockets of atmosphere that have persisted for countless millennia. These maintained compartments resemble temporal containers, preserving the chemical composition of the atmosphere from periods long vanished. Through examining them, investigators can discover what vapors formerly occupied the heavens, what quantity of oxygen was present, what amount of carbon dioxide heated the world, and how volcanic behavior or biological systems themselves modified the equilibrium. Certain of these pockets developed in solidifying lava, additional ones inside sedimentary layers or frozen water. Each one holds a reverberation of a prehistoric respiration, a phantom of the atmosphere that formerly enveloped primordial woodlands, colossal reptiles, or even the initial organisms to respire. To grasp such a stone means grasping a portion of disappeared atmosphere, a fragile documentation of the continuously shifting atmosphere that links every living entity throughout the extensive chronicle of our planet. Peaks exist taller than Everest, concealed under the waters. Deep under the oceanic exterior exist mountain systems that overshadow the planet's most elevated summits. Throughout the mid-ocean ridges, tremendous sequences of volcanic peaks extend for multiple tens of thousands of kilometers, ascending taller from their foundation to their summit than Everest rises beyond ocean level. These underwater systems remain predominantly invisible, cloaked in obscurity and tremendous compression. Nevertheless, they rank among the most dynamic territories on our planet. Lava perpetually surfaces from fissures, constructing fresh peaks and depressions through gradual, consistent displacement. The most elevated of these concealed colossi, including Mauna Kea, when calculated from its foundation under the waters, exceeds even the magnificent Himalayan peaks. They serve as testaments that considerable portions of our planet's magnificence and majesty exist invisible under the waters. Enormous, quiet domains of stone that expand and transform in obscurity, molding the sphere from underneath without any exposure to solar illumination. Our planet's most profound location descends nearly as distant underwater level as aircraft soar overhead. At the center of the Pacific waters exists the Mariana Trench, an abyss so profound that if Mount Everest were cast into it, the summit would continue submerged by exceeding a kilometer of liquid. The chasm's most profound recognized location, the Challenger Deep, extends nearly 11 kilometers under the exterior, nearly the identical span as commercial aircraft traverse overhead our planet. At those depths, the compression remains tremendous, overwhelming sufficient to compress steel. Nevertheless, even within that obscurity, biological systems persist. Peculiar creatures illuminate within the dark liquid, flourishing amid mineral-abundant deposits. The chasm indicates a subduction region where one crustal plate descends under another and returns into the mantle. It represents not merely the most inferior location on our planet, yet one of the world's magnificent mechanisms of regeneration. It demonstrates how minuscule the observable sphere appears relative to the enormity concealed underneath. The world resonates with tiny seismic events you never sense. Even when the terrain appears completely motionless, it vibrates with the subtle murmurs of perpetual displacement. Throughout the world, countless minuscule tremors propagate through the outer layer daily, excessively minute for humanity to perceive. These microscopic seismic events discharge modest explosions of energy as our planet accommodates to tensions far underneath. Researchers employ delicate apparatuses to document these murmurs, generating comprehensive charts of migrating fractures and concealed magma currents. Collectively, they constitute a backdrop resonance that never terminates, the tranquil rhythm of an active world. This perpetual vibration informs Earth scientists where fractures are shifting, where compression is accumulating, and where volcanic mechanisms are awakening. The tranquility of the sphere represents an illusion. Under each peak, woodland, and water, the world displaces in innumerable modest manners, exhaling, fracturing, and adjusting in gradual, concealed cadences that transport the chronicle of our planet's agitated center. Seismic events can force whole waterways to flow inversely. When the terrain trembles with adequate intensity, the topography itself may reverse orientation. Throughout intense seismic events, the terrain may incline or displace so suddenly that waterways become compelled to invert their current. This uncommon occurrence has been documented in incidents such as the significant New Madrid earthquakes of the initial 19th century, when portions of the Mississippi waterway momentarily flowed in reverse. The abrupt displacement of the outer layer may elevate one edge of a fracture or lower another, generating organic barriers or reducing depressions. For a temporary interval, the strength of our planet's interior energies may surpass the constant attraction of gravitational pull that directs each droplet of liquid. When equilibrium restores, the waterways sculpt fresh roots through transformed topography. These instances disclose the absolute intensity of geological displacement, demonstrating that even something as persistent and primordial as a waterway may be inverted by the world's profound concealed energies. Certain fractures shift quietly without producing any trembling whatsoever. Not every tectonic displacement proclaims itself through tremors or devastation. Throughout specific segments of fractures, the outer layer glides so gradually and uniformly that there exists no perceptible vibration at the exterior. This silent displacement termed fault creep alleviates compression through modest, perpetual additions. It remains imperceptible to any person positioned overhead, yet quantifiable through apparatuses that may sense displacement of merely several millimeters annually. Certain fractures in California and Turkey displace this manner, sliding effortlessly, whereas adjacent segments stay fixed and strained. The shifting segments might inhibit greater tremors from developing in those territories. Nevertheless, they additionally redirect tension to other locations. This delicate interplay between strain and discharge belongs to the world's persistent equilibrium performance. Even absent spectacle or sound, the terrain under us remains displacing, murmuring in gradual progression as our planet accommodates itself particle by particle throughout the millennia. Our planet's center surpasses the sun's exterior in temperature. At the precise nucleus of the sphere exists a mass of liquid and rigid metal experiencing compressions beyond imagination. The heat levels there attain exceeding 5,000 degrees Celsius, matching and even surpassing the observable exterior of the Sun. This colossal thermal energy represents the residual power from our planet's genesis, merged with the perpetual disintegration of radioactive components far inside. Although we shall never observe it immediately, the center propels everything from volcanic outbursts to the magnetic barrier that protects biological systems from stellar radiation. Its displacement churns, resembling a generator, producing imperceptible force trajectories that reach distant into the cosmos. The interior center, rigid iron, spins marginally more rapidly than the world overhead, whereas the exterior stratum circulates in liquid state. This concealed kill represents the throbbing center of our planet, the energy origin that maintains our sphere, active with displacement, thermal energy, and silent endurance. There might exist an entire sea concealed far inside the mantle, deep under the outer layer, where stone radiates with thermal force and compression. Researchers have discovered minerals, holding enormous quantities of imprisoned liquid. These findings indicate that a whole ocean's quantity of liquid might exist countless kilometers under the exterior, secured inside crystalline configurations instead of circulating unrestricted. Discharged, this concealed container could occupy the sphere's waters numerous occasions. It represents not a water body in the recognizable manner, yet a profound private repository of the identical material that maintains every biological system. The displacement of crustal plates might transport liquid downward into this domain, merely for it to emerge via volcanic outbursts and ascending columns of liquid stone. This invisible pattern may represent one of the solutions to comprehending why our planet possesses waters whatsoever. Even within the most profound stone, liquid discovers a method to persist, awaiting patiently inside the world's mantle for ages. Crystals may develop exceeding human dimensions inside subterranean cavities. Within the tranquil obscurity under the arid regions of northern Mexico exists a sanctuary of crystalline formations. The crystal cavern, interred profoundly inside a silver excavation, contains transparent gypsum shafts exceeding 9 meters lengthy. Every one required countless millennia to develop in flawless quietude, sustained by thermal mineral-abundant liquid, which formerly occupied the chamber. When the liquid evacuated, the crystals persisted, radiating like solidified lunar radiance in the moist atmosphere. Accessing the cavern feels like entering into another dimension, one constructed not of stone and flame, yet of gradual, fragile flawlessness. The circumstances necessary to generate such structures remain nearly impossibly uncommon, equilibrated between thermal energy, saturation, and duration. These colossal crystals demonstrate that even the most rigid substances on our planet may displace and transform, provided adequate forbearance. They represent the world's most magnificent manifestation of motionlessness, molded by temporal passage. Massive gypsum crystals glimmer in Mexico's Crystal Cavern, profoundly under the exterior, where thermal force and moisture may liquefy apparatus within moments. Exists one of the most spectacular locations ever discovered. The Crystal Cavern, uncovered by excavators in the year 2000, holds gypsum structures so enormous they suggest columns of illumination. Certain weigh multiple tons and extend throughout the chamber, resembling gigantic glass supports. The crystals developed when mineral-abundant subsurface liquid maintained at a consistent heat for countless millennia, permitting particles to organize themselves with flawless balance. When the cavern was emptied, the expansion terminated, preserving the scene perpetually. The environment remains so thermal and dense that nobody may remain inside extensively. Nevertheless, for temporary intervals, investigators have traversed throughout the luminous barriers of transparent stone. It represents a spectacle of geological craftsmanship, generated not through manipulation, yet through temporal passage, liquid, and the silent chemical processes of the planet itself. Salt formations may penetrate through stone, resembling gradual detonations. Within, territories where substantial strata of primordial salt rest interred under denser stone. A peculiar and intense occurrence may transpire. Throughout countless millennia, the salt commences to stream skyward, propelled by compression from the encircling. Occasionally capture petroleum and vapor, establishing containers that have influenced whole sectors. From overhead, they seem as mild elevations within the topography. Yet under the exterior, they represent enormous columns of gradual displacement. Strata. Although rigid, salt acts as a thick liquid experiencing tremendous strain. It ascends through the stone overhead, curving and fracturing it, generating dome-configured structures that may attain kilometers in elevation. These salt formations, reconstituting the planet in quietude. Everyone recounts the chronicle of primordial waters that dissipated ages past, abandoning minerals that persist in ascending heavenward. Evidence that even rigid terrain remains capable of streaming, resembling a persistent, irresistible current. Fossilized timber represents genuinely quartz particle by particle. What seems as a collapsed trunk converted to stone constitutes something considerably more peculiar and fragile. When a trunk becomes interred through volcanic debris or deposits, minerals transported through subsurface liquid infiltrate its structures. Throughout millennia, every minuscule configuration of timber becomes substituted particle by particle with quartz, maintaining each growth ring, irregularity, and strand in flawless particularity. The outcome represents a remnant that continues appearing as timber. It feels frigid and weighty to contact. Occasionally residual components tinted in shades of crimson, amber, or emerald, creating an organic illustration inside its texture. Grasping a fragment of fossilized timber resembles grasping a recollection rendered rigid, a vital entity converted into crystalline material through the forbearance of temporal progression. It represents nature's method of communicating that nothing genuinely vanishes. It merely transforms configuration, maintaining the chronicle of existence secured inside stone. Coal commenced as primordial woodlands imprisoned in marshy realms. Ages prior to humanity traversed the planet, immense tropical woodlands blanketed considerable portions of the terrain. When these woodlands expired, their collapsed trunks and foliage descended into oxygen-deficient marshes, where decomposition decelerated to minimal levels. Stratum upon stratum of vegetation substance accumulated, compressing downward under its personal mass. Throughout countless millennia, thermal force and compression metamorphosed that interred biological substance into coal, a compact stone composed of condensed carbon. Inside each fragment of it exists the power of solar radiation captured by vegetation from a prehistoric atmosphere. Igniting coal discharges that primordial solar radiation once more, a phantom reemergence of power preserved for ages. The sequence that generated it narrates a chronicle of metamorphosis, where existence transformed into stone and solar, radiation transformed into combustible material. Each portion of coal transports the impression of primordial woodlands. The exhalation of a disappeared realm condensed into obscure shimmering channels under our contemporary one. Petroleum originates from the interred remnants of primordial microorganisms. Ages prior to prehistoric reptiles traversed the terrain. The waters were occupied with tiny existence. When those minuscule creatures expired, they descended to the ocean bottom and merged with sediment, establishing substantial strata of biological deposits. Throughout countless millennia, the mass of the water compressed them further, heating and condensing them until their carbon-abundant remnants metamorphosed into fluid hydrocarbons. Imprisoned inside permeable stone, these primordial particles transformed into the petroleum that energizes contemporary society. Each droplet we ignite formerly drifted through a prehistoric water body, collecting solar radiation through the most elementary configurations of existence. Through a perspective, the power that energizes our sphere represents the solar radiation of our planet's profound history. preserved under kilometers of stone. The chronicle of petroleum represents not merely one of earth science, yet of biological systems, chemical processes, and temporal progression, interwoven collectively in the tranquil obscurity under the exterior, awaiting revelation. Each sand particle narrates the chronicle of a disappeared summit. Every minuscule sand particle formerly constituted something considerably more substantial. Ages prior to it settled on a shoreline or arid region, it belonged to a lofty peak or a primordial bedrock. Expanse. Throughout countless millennia, atmospheric currents, moisture, and frozen mass pulverized that stone downward to its most minuscule achievable fragments, transporting them throughout waterways and waters. A solitary particle might have rotated through ice masses, streamed downward gorges, or floated throughout waters prior to settling to stillness. Under magnification, its configuration and makeup disclose the category of stone it originated from and the expedition it experienced. Certain particles continue radiating with portions of quartz from primordial landmasses. Additional ones represent volcanic fragments from fiery outbursts ages past. Each portion of sand represents a chronicle volume of temporal progression, an assemblage of fractured realms diminished to shimmering portions that shall eventually be compressed backward into stone and commence the pattern once more. Arid region sand may vocalize with a profound harmonic tone when it displaces. Within several uncommon arid regions, the displacement of sand formations generates a profound resonant vibration that may persist for intervals. These vocalizing formations discovered in locations such as Morocco, Chile, and the Arabian Peninsula generate tones so refined they resemble the utterance of the planet itself. The resonance originates from innumerable particles gliding and impacting in synchronization, oscillating at a wavelength between a cello's pitch and a powerful rumble. Researchers speculate the particles must remain nearly identical in dimension and completely arid for this phenomenon to transpire. Voyagers characterize the sensation as eerie, as if the formations are respiring or communicating. Primordial populations frequently regarded these resonances as supernatural, supposing they originated from concealed entities or deities of the arid territory. Truthfully, it represents physical principles and resistance, functioning collectively, converting the topography into an organic apparatus that vocalizes the gradual, persistent harmony of the displacing planet. Certain shorelines are constructed wholly of minuscule shells. Throughout specific coastal territories, the sand under your stance was not sculpted from stone, yet constructed through biological systems. Throughout centuries, the shells of innumerable minuscule aquatic creatures, including mollusks and foraminifera, have decomposed into portions so refined they suggest pulverized ivory. These biological sands may radiate pale under the solar light, sparkle, rose from fragmented coral, or even gleam orris from the remnants of tiny algae. Every particle represents a portion of something that formerly existed, a fragment of the water's history restored to the coastline. Traversing throughout such a shoreline resembles progressing through the remnants of imperceptible domains, where currents and lunar cycles have converted the configuration of existence into a delicate, displacing composition. The sphere's most renowned pale shorelines, such as those in the Bahamas and Maldives, represent active testimony that temporal progression and biological systems may construct magnificence as certainly as stone and flame. There exist obsidian, emerald, rose, and even crimson sands on our planet. Not every shoreline sparkles with orris or pale tones. Certain are obsidian from solidified lava, additional emerald from olivine minerals, rose from coral, or crimson from weathered volcanic stone. Every hue narrates a geological chronicle regarding its origin and the energies that molded it. Obsidian sands frequently border volcanic territories, created when liquid lava encountered the water and fractured into minuscule vitreous portions. Emerald shorelines manifest where uncommon minerals from profound inside the mantle arrive on shore. Rose shades originate from fragmented shells and coral merged with pale sand, whereas crimson sands are colored by iron-abundant stone oxidized throughout duration. Traversing these chromatic coastlines resembles exploring through the spectrum of the world itself. Each current reorganizes particles that transport the recollection of flame, liquid, and temporal progression, merging the sphere's components into organic craftsmanship that displaces and radiates under the perpetually transforming illumination of the atmosphere. Ice masses sculpt topography, resembling displacing channels of stone. An ice mass appears motionless, nevertheless it circulates. Throughout centuries, the mass of gathered frozen precipitation compresses into compact frozen water that gradually glides descending slopes, reconstituting everything in its trajectory. These solidified channels abrade opposing the peaks, excavating depressions, burnishing stones, and transporting fragments for kilometers. When they withdraw, they abandon expansive U-configured depressions, dispersed stones, and shimmering water bodies that occupy their forsaken roots. The impressions of ice masses may be discovered on nearly each landmass, from the sleek granite formations of Yosemite to the sculpted inlets of Norway. Even presently, ice formations persist their persistent labor, pulverizing primordial stone into refined powder that floats on the atmospheric currents. They represent carvers of landmasses, craftspeople of temporal progression and thermal conditions, molding the terrain particle by particle. Within their tranquil persistence exists a testament of the world's fragile equilibrium, where even the most frigid energies circulate with an intensity adequate to transform the sphere. Certain ice masses displace rapidly, adequate to be observed shifting hourly. Although ice masses typically advance at the velocity of fractions daily, several circulate so rapidly they may be perceived displacing inside a solitary afternoon. These rapidly displacing channels of frozen water accelerate when liquefied water lubricates the terrain under them, diminishing resistance and permitting colossal sheets of frozen water to glide swiftly ahead. In Greenland and sections of Alaska, researchers have recorded ice masses advancing ahead at remarkable velocities, their fractured exteriors moaning and fracturing as they progress. From a span, the displacement appears unachievable. Rigid frozen water acting resembling liquid stone. Nevertheless, this displacement transports tremendous power, reconstituting depressions and transporting stone by the metric ton. As they accelerate, they additionally demonstrate that even within their solidified motionlessness, ice formations remain active with displacement. To observe. One in displacement means observing temporal progression itself intensify. The gradual cadence of the planet condensed into an observable, spectacular acceleration. Frozen water experiencing compression acts, resembling gradually streaming nectar. Under the exterior of an ice mass, where compression remains tremendous and temperatures remain slightly under solidification, frozen water ceases acting as a rigid material. Rather, it circulates, not swiftly, yet gradually and perpetually, folding and curving, resembling nectar discharged in gradual progression. The minerals inside the frozen water metamorphose and glide beyond one another, permitting whole quantities to advance downward slopes. This displacement provides ice formations their liquid elegance, their capacity to sculpt peaks and mold depressions throughout multiple tens of thousands of years. In the appropriate circumstances, even rigid stone may act this manner, circulating throughout geological temporal scales. Observing frozen water metamorphose, experiencing compression within experimental facility trials discloses how substance obscures the distinction between rigid and liquid. What seems inflexible transforms pliable with adequate temporal progression and mass. The world's most magnificent metamorphoses frequently transpire not through abrupt explosions, yet via the tranquil persistence of substances acquiring to displace experiencing compression. Remnants may record precipitation droplets that descended countless millennia previously. Occasionally, the most minuscule traces of history persist in stone. On sheets of primordial sedimentary stone, researchers have discovered fragile impressions of precipitation droplets that descended onto delicate sediment ages prior to humanity emerged. Every minuscule depression documents an instant in duration, a tempest that traversed over a prehistoric topography, its droplets dispersing throughout a sphere, occupied with peculiar vegetation and primitive existence. Inside moments, the impressions were interred through fresh strata of deposits, enclosing them within obscurity until the stone solidified. When the exterior becomes revealed once more, it discloses a flawless impression of atmospheric conditions from a disappeared period. These fossilized precipitation droplets demonstrate that even transient instances may persist perpetually when maintained through coincidence. Within a solitary stone, we may interpret the contact of a tempest that terminated countless millennia previously. Its cadence continues observable on the sheets of the world's recollection. Certain remnants maintain delicate structures, even pigments and plumage. For centuries, remnants were considered to record merely skeletal remains and protective coverings, the rigid remnants of primordial creatures. Yet findings throughout the recent multiple decades have disclosed something remarkable. In uncommon circumstances, even fragile structures may persist. Within specific stones, researchers have discovered impressions of dermis, muscular, tissue, and plumage, occasionally with residues of coloration that demonstrate the initial hues of prehistoric reptiles and avians. These remnants develop when mineral-abundant liquid infiltrates through the remnants prior to decomposition may annihilate them, substituting biological particles with stone. The outcome represents an instant of existence converted to carving maintained in flawless particularity. Certain even preserve tiny configurations that suggest how these creatures displaced, respired, and radiated in the solar illumination of their period. To grasp such a remnant means to connect realms, sensing the reverberation of thermal energy and pigmentation from entities that disappeared countless millennia previously. Stromatolites document the most primordial recognized existence on our planet. Ages prior to creatures or vegetation developed, elementary microorganisms constructed stratified configurations in superficial waters. These structures, termed stromatolites, represent the world's most ancient existing remnants. They were generated through carpets of microorganisms that imprisoned and secured deposits, establishing formations that gradually expanded toward the solar illumination. Certain primordial specimens exceed 3.5 billion years ancient, rendering them among the most initial testimony of existence anywhere. Remarkably, stromatolites continue existing presently in several isolated locations, including Shark Bay and Australia, where microbial populations persist their gradual, cadenced expansion. Observing one resembles gazing immediately into the genesis of biological systems when the initial structures commenced molding the world. They demonstrate that existence is chronicle, commenced not through displacement or intricacy, yet through forbearance. Strata of vital membrane converting illumination, liquid, and temporal progression into the precise base of everything that ensued. Our planet formally transformed wholly pale throughout a worldwide frozen sphere event. Approximately 700 million years previously, our world nearly solidified completely. Frozen water extended from extremity to extremity, enclosing the waters under kilometers of solidified exterior and deflecting solar illumination backward into the cosmos. It remains supposed that volcanic behavior, modifications in atmospheric vapors, and fluctuations in stellar power merged to initiate this worldwide profound solidification. For countless millennia, our planet persisted as an enormous, quiet sphere of frozen water. Its exterior, radiating pale under obscure solar body. Nevertheless, existence persisted, concealed in compartments of fluid liquid under the ice masses or adjacent volcanic openings. Ultimately, volcanic outbursts discharged adequate carbon dioxide to imprison thermal energy once more, liquefying the world in a spectacular sphere-encompassing dissolution. The restoration of fluid waters might have assisted initiating and proliferation of intricate existence. Frozen sphere Earth represents as one of the most magnificent metamorphoses in global chronicle. Approximate termination and renaissance inscribed in frozen water and frozen precipitation. Eruptions might have terminated that solidified period through a thermal retention explosion. Throughout the profundities of the Yale, worldwide solidification, eruptions persisted to discharge, propelling carbon dioxide into the atmosphere for countless millennia. With the water enclosed under frozen water, this vapor could not dissolve as it customarily would. Consequently, it accumulated in the atmosphere, imprisoning thermal energy. When the frozen water ultimately commenced to liquefy, the sequence intensified spectacularly. Obscure revealed stone assimilated solar illumination, magnifying the heating phenomenon. Inside a geological moment, the world displaced from solidified pale to vaporizing azure emerald waters once more. This liquefaction unleashed deluges, weathering, and potentially even chemical modifications that sustained primitive existence. Through a perspective, eruptions might have rescued the world. Their tranquil persistence under the frozen water, maintaining our planet's atmospheric conditions active. What formerly represented a period of quietude transformed into one of renaissance, validating that even within the world's most profound frigidity, flame and regeneration were awaiting persistently underneath. Atmospheric oxygen was initially generated through primordial microbial carpets. The atmosphere we respire credits its presence to minuscule creatures that existed eons previously. These microorganisms, progenitors of contemporary cyanobacteria, prospered in superficial waters and employed solar illumination to divide liquid particles, discharging oxygen as a secondary product. Throughout temporal progression, their refuse metamorphosed the world. Initially, the oxygen engaged with iron in the waters, establishing immense accumulations of rust-hued stone. Merely following these minerals became saturated, did the vapor commence occupying the atmosphere, gradually converting it into the vitality-providing composition we rely upon presently. This occurrence, recognized as the magnificent oxygenation, transformed everything. It permitted intricate structures to develop and ultimately rendered achievable the emergence of vegetation and creatures. Each respiration you perform represents a contribution from those primordial microorganisms whose elementary chemical processes converted a desolate sphere into a vital one, establishing the root for woodlands, waters, and everything that ensued. Iron structures indicate the instant the world commenced to respire. Within primordial ocean bottoms throughout the sphere exist stripes of crimson and ashen stone that radiate with metallic brilliance. These striped iron structures represent the fossilized documentation of the period when oxygen initially manifested in our planet's atmosphere. As primitive microorganisms commenced generating oxygen via photosynthesis, the vapor engaged with liquefied iron within the waters, generating rust-resembling minerals that descended to the ocean bottom in strata. Throughout countless millennia, these deposits solidified into stone, recording the respiration of a freshly awakening world. Presently, those identical structures are excavated for iron, the foundation of contemporary sector. Nevertheless, they commenced as the secondary product of tiny existence. Every band in the stone represents a pulse in the world's metamorphosis, indicating the gradual conversion from a sphere absent atmosphere to one active with oxygen, where the chemical processes of existence itself commenced to establish throughout terrain and ocean. There existed formerly a period when the waters were violet. Prior to oxygen occupied the atmosphere, our planet's waters appeared considerably distinct. Liquid might have sparkled with tones of crimson and violet, pigmented through primordial microorganisms that employed particles of sulfur, not oxygen, to record solar illumination. These creatures prospered in chemical-abundant waters under an orange atmosphere, generating colorants that tinted the liquid with peculiar shades. As photosynthetic microorganisms commenced to discharge oxygen, these violet waters gradually diminished to the azure we recognize presently. The displacement from a sulfur sphere to an oxygen one represented one of the most magnificent conversions in our planet's chronicle, modifying everything from the atmosphere to the chemical composition of stones. For a duration, although our world radiated in pigments we may barely envision, waters of violet under an obscure solar body, the indication of existence experimenting with illumination ages prior to the period of woodlands, coral structures, or any creature that respired atmosphere. Whole peak systems have disappeared absent any indication. The land masses we observe presently represent merely the most recent iteration of our planet's exterior. Within profound temporal progression, whole peak systems have ascended and weathered distant so thoroughly that no indication of them persists. Atmospheric currents, liquid and gravitational force labor persistently, diminishing even the most elevated summits, particle by particle. The bases of primordial peaks occasionally persist as mineral stone interred under more recent strata, hints abandoned for Earth scientists to discover. Certain of the most ancient landmass exteriors formerly supported colossal systems, presently diminished to level expanses. Throughout countless millions of years, weathering may eliminate a peak as effortlessly as currents polish a stone. The world perpetually reconstructs itself, and what appears perpetual to us represents merely a momentary carving in the continuous craft of earth science. Each expanse and depression formerly represented a summit, and each stone transports the phantom of a disappeared peak inside its center. Land masses have impacted and divided numerous occasions in our planet's history. Throughout the span of eons, the land masses have assembled and migrated distant, resembling gradually displacing enigma fragments. Propelled through thermal energy ascending from the mantle, the outer layer has curved, ruptured, and reorganized itself repeatedly. Every impact constructed fresh peaks. Every division established fresh waters. This sequence, recognized as the supercontinent pattern, has recurred at minimum half a dozen occasions. When land masses clash, stones become interred profoundly and regenerated via thermal energy and compression. When they diverge, fresh outer layer develops, transporting primordial portions of vanished realms. The impressions of these displacements remain observable in corresponding remnants and stone designs discovered on reverse edges of contemporary waters. The terrain under our stance remains not secured, yet belongs to an agitated performance that never terminates. Evidence that the terrain we position upon has voyaged distant, transporting the chronicle of innumerable primordial realms inside its basis. There have existed at minimum 6 supercontinents prior to ours. Prior to Pangaea, prior to even Rodinia, the planet constructed and fractured distant at minimum 6 occasions, establishing immense supercontinents that migrated throughout the periods. Every one possessed its personal peaks, waters, and atmospheric patterns, its personal ascent and descent inscribed in stone. Nuna, Columbia, Rodinia, Pannotia, and Gondwana represent designations provided to these vanished realms. Their remnants dispersed throughout the sphere. When they existed, existence remained frequently tiny. Nevertheless, their establishment molded the chemical composition of the waters and atmosphere. Every fragmentation and convergence modified the trajectory of development, agitating the atmospheric patterns and displacing the profound flows of the world. Land masses we recognize represent fragments of those primordial colossi, survivors of a pattern that encompasses eons of temporal progression. To examine them means interpreting our planet's self-narrative inscribed throughout temporal progression, where even the terrain itself remains momentary and nothing persists complete for extensive duration. Pangaea represented merely the most contemporary supercontinent. Approximately 250 million years previously, nearly every terrain on our planet assembled into a solitary immense supercontinent encircled through a worldwide water body. This tremendous landmass termed Pangaea extended from extremity to extremity, linking territories that remain presently landmasses distant. Its interior remains severe and arid, distant from the water's tempering impact, whereas its coastlines populated with primitive reptiles and woodlands. Throughout multiple tens of millions of years, thermal energy under the outer layer accumulated compression until fractures manifested. Dividing the terrain distant, the Atlantic water body established, and the land masses commenced migrating toward their contemporary locations. Remnants of matching vegetation and creatures discovered on reverse edges of the water body represent quiet, observers to that primordial cohesion. Pangaea's fragmentation molded contemporary cartography and atmospheric patterns, establishing the platform for everything that ensued. It represented not the initial supercontinent, neither shall it constitute the final, merely one section in our planet's perpetual migration. The subsequent supercontinent might already be developing under the Pacific. Deep under the currents, the gradual displacements of the crustal platforms remain establishing the platform for the fifth, subsequent magnificent reorganization of our planet's exterior. Researchers anticipate that within 200 to 300 million years, the land masses might once more converge into a fresh supercontinent. Certain projections indicate the Pacific water body shall terminate as Asia and the Americas displace collectively, establishing a territory, occasionally termed Amasia. Additional envision the Atlantic terminating alternatively, attracting Europe and the Americas toward one another. Although the conclusion remains ambiguous, the sequence remains unavoidable. The identical imperceptible flows that fractured Pangaea distant continue functioning, displacing landmasses fraction by fraction. To envision the sphere that distant ahead means comprehending how momentary our cartography genuinely remain. Our planet perpetually reconstitutes itself, and somewhere profound underneath, the initial displacements of the subsequent supercontinent have already commenced. Australia remains migrating northward toward Asia each solitary year. Deep under the landmass of Australia, the tectonic platform that transports it remains gradually gliding northward at a velocity of several centimeters annually. Throughout countless millennia, this mild displacement accumulates to multiple thousands of kilometers. Ultimately, Australia shall impact with the territories of Southeast Asia, elevating fresh peaks and reconstituting coastlines. Orbital instruments already monitor its annual migration with remarkable exactitude. The displacement remains, energized through profound circulation flows in the mantle where thermal energy from the world's center displaces. Immense sheets of stone as if they represented vessels on a liquid water body. Although the displacement remains imperceptible to us, it modifies cartography, atmospheric patterns, and even biological systems. Coral structures expand where terrain formerly existed. Arid regions advance toward the equatorial zones. And eventually, fresh peak systems shall ascend between the dual territories. The landmass's gradual expedition northward represents one of the most elegant displacements on our planet. Africa might eventually divide into dual distinct landmasses. Profoundly inside East Africa, a tremendous fracture extends for multiple thousands of kilometers, indicating the location where the landmass gradually ruptures distant. Volcanic behavior, seismic events, and attenuating outer layer disclose that a fresh water body might ultimately establish there. The East African fracture represents an observable testament that landmasses remain never genuinely rigid. They curve and extend resembling dermis over a vital organism. Within several tens of millions of years, the territory that encompasses Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania may diverge from the Hazara, remainder of Africa, migrating eastward into its personal territory. Water bodies including Tanganyika and Malawi occupy the fracture's profound impressions, primitive hints to the water body that shall eventually inundate within. Positioning on its boundaries resembles perceiving the genesis of a prospective landmass. The sequence remains gradual beyond comprehension. Nevertheless, it transpires precisely presently under our stance, molding the sphere of the future. Iceland positions immediately overhead, a rupture in our planet's outer layer. The territory of Iceland persists because it spans the mid-Atlantic ridge, a frontier where dual crustal platforms remain displacing distant. Present, liquid stone surges skyward via an extended rupture in the outer layer, constructing fresh terrain as it solidifies. The whole territory represents a junction of flame and frozen water with ice masses situated adjacent dynamic eruptions. Thermal springs, water spouts, and lava expanses testify to the agitated power underneath. Each several years, outbursts demonstrate to inhabitants that their territory remains continuing under establishment. The territory's distinctive location renders it one of the limited locations where this frontier ascends overhead water level, permitting researchers to examine the unprocessed mechanics of crustal platform tectonics in evident observation. Iceland represents an active trial of genesis, a location where our planet considerably literally expands prior to our perception, equilibrating on the boundary between the solidified North Atlantic and the liquid center of the world. The Hawaiian territories represent a displacing sequence constructed through a stationary thermal plume. Within the center of the Pacific water body, a column of liquid stone ascends from profound inside the mantle, penetrating via the outer layer to generate eruptions. As the Pacific platform migrates gradually northwestward, every fresh outburst establishes a territory that ultimately displaces distant from the thermal plume, permitting another to assume its location. This sequence has generated an extensive sequence of territories and subaqueous peaks extending multiple thousands of kilometers throughout the water body bottom. The most recent territory, Hawaii, continues, radiating with dynamic lava currents, whereas the most primordial territories, distant to the northwest, have weathered into minimal atolls. Through following this sequence, researchers may chart the displacement of the Pacific platform throughout countless millennia. The thermal plume itself persists secured, whereas the exterior glides overhead it, abandoning a punctuated documentation of temporal progression and displacement. Every territory represents a section in a continuous chronicle of genesis inscribed in liquid stone. Yellowstone conceals one of the most enormous volcanic mechanisms on our planet. Under the woodlands and waterspouts of Yellowstone exists a tremendous container of magma, substantial adequate to energize one of the most intense volcanic mechanisms ever uncovered. The preserve's vaporizing openings, effervescent water bodies, and spectacular outbursts of scalding liquid represent exterior hints to the thermal energy underneath. Researchers observe the territory intensely, charting the Yasli, concealed reservoirs that extend for multiple dozens of kilometers under the outer layer. Although it remains not anticipated to discharge momentarily, its historical detonations reconstituted considerable portions of North America, dispersing debris throughout whole landmasses. Presently, the territory respires via its waterspouts, discharging compression in magnificent explosions that demonstrate of its interior flame. Yellowstone represents simultaneously a refuge of magnificence and an aperture into the agitated character of the world, where even under serene topographies, primordial energies of thermal force and compression persist to mold our planet in quietude. Supervolcanoes may modify the world's atmospheric patterns for centuries. When conventional eruptions discharge, they impact regional atmospheric conditions for several periods. When supervolcanoes discharge, they may metamorphose the whole world. These colossal detonations discharge multiple thousands of cubic kilometers of debris and vapor into the atmosphere, obstructing solar illumination and refrigerating the sphere for multiple decades or even centuries. Testimony of such outbursts manifests in debris strata and atmospheric documentation from Yellowstone, Toba, and Taupo. The consequence encompasses volcanic cooling periods where heat levels decline and biological systems struggle to accommodate. Although uncommon, these occurrences demonstrate the fragile equilibrium between our planet's interior and its exterior. Intensity secured under our stance has molded development itself, occasionally initiating extensive terminations that eliminated the route for fresh existence. Nevertheless, even within their intensity, supervolcanoes constitute portions of the world's extensive cadence of regeneration, rotating substances between outer layer and atmosphere, demonstrating that existence and flame remain profoundly interwoven. The most enormous recognized volcanic outburst transpired in what remains presently Indonesia. Approximately 74,000 years previously, a tremendous outburst at Lake Toba in Indonesia transformed the sphere. It discharged exceeding 2,000 cubic kilometers of debris and magma, abandoning a depression 100 kilometers expansive that remains continuing, observable presently. The detonation obscured atmospheres throughout the sphere, diminishing heat levels and dispersing volcanic debris or land masses. Certain researchers suppose it generated a temporary volcanic cooling period that might have impacted primitive human populations. Even following the outburst terminated, volcanic vapors persisted in the atmosphere, coloring twilights and refrigerating the world for years. The occurrence remained so immense that it overshadows any outburst in documented chronicle. Presently, the serene water body that occupies the depression appears tranquil. Yet under its placid liquid exists one of our planet's most intense impressions, a testament that the world's most magnificent instances of genesis frequently arrive, enveloped in annihilation. Certain outbursts have abandoned debris that continues encircling the sphere presently. Refined volcanic debris may float in the elevated atmosphere for years, transported through atmospheric currents that encircle the world. Fragments from significant outbursts including Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines or Krakatoa in Indonesia have been perceived extensively following the detonations terminated. These tiny portions disperse solar illumination, generating spectacular crimson, twilights and marginally refrigerating worldwide heat levels. Elevated overhead the atmospheric conditions, they establish slender barriers that deflect illumination in manners that artists formerly recorded following historic outbursts. Certain strata of atmospheric debris even restored to our planet centuries afterward, uncovered in frozen cores and water body deposits. Each outburst, regardless of how isolated, links to the atmosphere that envelops the whole world. The atmosphere we respire presently transports residues of outbursts from remote periods, a fragile testament that even the most tranquil atmosphere contains reverberations of the planet's fiery exhalation. Lava water bodies may persist liquid for multiple decades absent solidification. Within several uncommon volcanic depressions throughout the sphere, liquid stone never hardens. These lava water bodies, including those in Erta Ale in Ethiopia and Kilauea in Hawaii, remain maintained through perpetual provisions of thermal energy and magma from underneath. Their exteriors agitate and undulate, resembling fiery waters, forming crusts, merely to fracture distant once more. During darkness, they radiate resembling apertures into the world's center, their orange illumination oscillating opposing obscure, stone and vapor. The thermal equilibrium remains so exact that the water bodies may persist for multiple decades, perpetually replenished through profound circulation. Observing one remains captivating, a vital kill respiring and throbbing in gradual cadence. They provide researchers uncommon perspectives into the chemical composition and mechanics of magma that cannot be duplicated within experimental facilities. Every water body represents a testament that our planet's flame continues combusting, precisely under its delicate, solidifying exterior, eternal and vital. Electrical discharge may occur inside volcanic debris masses. When an eruption discharges, the tremendous resistance between debris fragments generates intense electrical accumulations. As these accumulations intensify, they discharge as electrical bolts. They fracture through the debris column. Volcanic electrical discharge may brighten whole atmospheres, generating tempests of flame and illumination overhead erupting peaks. Unlike conventional thunderstorms, these flashes originate wholly from the power of stone and vapor. Images record dividing bolts curving through columns of obsidian vapor. Every impact persisting merely a pulse, yet transporting tremendous intensity. Researchers examine these flashes to comprehend the circulation of debris and to monitor outburst. Magnitude since electrical discharge may indicate how intensely substance remains being discharged. To observe one means observing the amalgamation of our planet's fundamental energies, rigid, liquid, and vapor encountering electrical power. A temporary yet motivating spectacle that discloses how even annihilation may sparkle with remarkable magnificence. When eruptions encounter frozen water, they generate detonative vapor outbursts. Within locations where ice masses sit overhead eruptions, thermal energy and frozen water clash in magnificent manners. When magma ascends under the frozen water, it liquefies colossal quantities of liquid within an instant, generating vapor that extends with detonative intensity. These outbursts may detonate through the ice mass, transmitting deluges and debris masses plummeting downward depressions. Iceland's eruptions frequently act this manner, concealed under substantial frozen water coverings until compression accumulates elevated, adequate to explode liberated. The engagement abandons distinctive terrain configurations, elevations, and expanses, sculpted through flame and liquid collectively. Researchers term them tuyas, testaments to the peculiar alliance of thermal energy and frigidity. Every outburst under frozen water reconstitutes the topography, validating that even the most contrary components of existence remain linked in a pattern of genesis and metamorphosis that has molded our world since its most primitive periods. Whole fresh territories have ascended from volcanic outbursts inside existing recollection. Throughout the waters, fresh terrain occasionally manifests where there formerly existed merely liquid. Subaqueous eruptions occasionally discharge with such intensity, yet they construct territories from the water body bottom skyward. Within the recent century, outbursts adjacent Iceland, Japan, and Tonga have generated fresh segments of terrain that continue vaporizing and expanding. One of the most renowned remains Surtsey, in territory proximate Iceland, that surfaced from the water body in 1963 and remains existing presently. Researchers monitored as vegetation and avians commenced to populate the virgin terrain, documenting the birth of a complete ecosystem. These fresh segments represent observable demonstrations that our planet persists in establishing fresh terrain currently. Every one represents an indication of the world's perpetual vitality and its talent for metamorphosis. To observe such a territory represents to observe geological progression, not inside volumes, yet transpiring previously in authentic duration. Stone may liquefy and reconstruct itself via thermal energy and compression. When stone becomes subjected to tremendous thermal energy and compression deep under the outer layer, it may metamorphose. Unprocessed stone may become marble, sandstone into quartzite, and shale into slate. This sequence, termed metamorphism, transpires absent liquefying, modifying the minerals and configurations inside the stone through compelling them to reorganize under the strain. The outcome represents a novel stone, dense and frequently radiating with mineral crystals, that narrates the chronicle of its excursion through the world's interior. When platforms clash, these metamorphic stones surface, ascending into peaks where we may appreciate their concealed magnificence. Grasping them resembles grasping the compressed chronicle of our planet's most intense internal displacements. Metamorphic stones demonstrate that metamorphosis does not demand liquefaction, solely compression, thermal energy, and extensive duration. Marble commenced as limestone, but became a mineral sanctuary. Inside primordial waters, minuscule creatures generated calcium-abundant shells that ultimately accumulated on the ocean bottom. Throughout countless millennia, these deposits solidified into limestone, a delicate, pale stone. Nevertheless, when limestone becomes interred profoundly and subjected to tremendous thermal energy and compression, it metamorphoses once more. Its minerals reconstruct into narrow interwoven crystals, metamorphosing it into marble. The radiant, substantial stone, employed throughout antiquity to sculpt icons and pillars formerly resided silently on a water body bottom. Its metamorphosis represented not speedy, yet throughout geological temporal scales, compelled downward into the planet, then elevated once more via crumpling platforms. Every portion of marble transports the recollection of primordial waters and the excursion from liquid to stone to magnificence. The identical substance that harbored existence became converted through thermal energy and compression into a carving substance cherished for its radiance and potency. Earth science is alchemy, enacted gradually adequate to persist perpetually. Certain stones at peak summits formerly resided on oceanic bottoms. Ascending the most elevated peaks on our planet, one encounters stones that originated as sediment on a water body bottom. These stones bear the impressions of aquatic beings, precipitate deposits, and stratified designs typical of primordial waters. When crustal platforms clash, tremendous energies compel portions of the water body bottom heavenward, elevating them into enormous peak systems. Throughout countless millennia, what formerly resided beneath the water ascends multiple kilometers upward. On Everest, researchers have discovered limestone abundant in fossilized aquatic organisms, proving the summit formerly existed submerged. This spectacular excursion from water to atmosphere validates that nothing on our planet persists perpetually. Each peak formerly occupied a depression, and each stone narrates a chronicle of metamorphosis that extends across eons. Gazing downward from the planet's most elevated locations, one positions atop primordial aquatic bases, demonstrating that our world's magnificence originates as much from metamorphosis as from the peaks themselves. Our planet might have commenced with no land masses whatsoever. Throughout its initial eons, our planet might have been wholly encased in liquid. Without any landmass to fracture the expansive water body, conditions would have appeared dramatically distinct. The stone pattern necessary to generate mainland exterior establishes gradually throughout temporal progression, energized through tectonic behavior and the chilling of the world's outer layer. The initial territories possibly appeared as volcanic territories thrusting through. The exterior possibly resembling primordial Iceland or Hawaii. Throughout countless millennia, these territories gathered, merged, and generated the strata of less dense stone that constitute modern landmasses. Absent landmasses, the world's atmospheric conditions might have remained wholly distinct, as would the course of existence itself. The emergence of landmasses didn't merely provide us a location to position. It modified currents, atmospheric patterns, and supplied novel environments where existence might experiment and prosper. The terrain we position on represents the outcome of eons of volcanic outbursts, collision, and refinement. Every particle formerly circulated through the pattern that converted water body into terrain. The most massive extinction occurrence terminated 90% of all species. Approximately 252 million years previously, virtually everything expired. The conclusion Permian extinction constitutes the most immense recognized termination occurrence in our planet's chronicle, exterminating approximately 90% of aquatic species and 70% of terrestrial existence. The accurate origin persists uncertain, yet numerous researchers connect it to enormous volcanic outbursts in Siberia that discharged millions of tons of vapors for centuries. These vapors imprisoned thermal energy, modified water body chemistry, and decreased atmospheric oxygen, generating conditions nearly unbearable. The termination existed so intense that ecosystems required multiple millions of years to regenerate. Nevertheless, from those ruins, fresh configurations of existence surfaced. Certain primordial species persevered and eventually diversified, establishing the route for prehistoric reptiles and ultimately for humanity. The occurrence serves as testament that existence on our planet persists under a delicate equilibrium, molded as considerably through annihilation as through genesis. Geological phenomena may modify the trajectory of existence considerably more rapidly than development itself. Massive asteroid collisions, supervolcanic discharges, and planetary-scale atmospheric conversions have agitated the sphere so intensely that species are compelled to accommodate or vanish. These remarkable occasions occasionally establish unexpected circumstances that stimulate rapid development. Following each considerable extinction occurrence, survivors occupy novel ecological positions, leading to accelerated innovation. Minute mammals persevered the asteroid collision that terminated the prehistoric reptiles, and throughout the absence abandoned in the absence of the reptiles, they diversified into multitudinous configurations. The terrain under our stance has not merely operated as a platform for existence, it has actively molded it. Mountain formations modify atmospheric patterns and segregate populations. Oceanic displacements modify heat levels. Even the composition of the atmosphere originates from stone weathering and volcanic discharges. Earth science and biological systems represent not independent domains, they represent dual elements of an individual narrative, interwoven collectively across multiple 4 billion years. You persist since the sphere altered, and the sphere persists in transformation, since existence breathes, excavates, and expires. The very terrain under our stance represents a testament to metamorphosis and the vigor to persevere. The world possesses thermal reservoirs profound enough to energize urban centers. Under the exterior, substantial strata of thermal water persist, thermal from the geothermal intensity of our planet's interior. These thermal reservoirs are produced when moisture descends through fractured stone, heats considerably more inferior, and becomes imprisoned under compression. In territories such as Iceland, New Zealand, and sections of the USA, humans access this thermal energy to generate power, heat residences, and even bathe. Geothermal installations extract this thermal liquid or vapor to rotate turbines and supply tidy, regenerative power. Some subterranean reservoirs reach heat levels exceeding 300 degrees Celsius, producing them some of the most intense settings available to contemporary techniques. This profound thermal energy might represent one of the most underutilized power origins on our planet, quietly seething under our stance, awaiting to be utilized through invention and attentiveness. Fungal organisms remain the unrecognized champions of existence on our planet. They precede vegetation on terrain, decompose deceased organisms, circulate nutrients, and communicate with origins in manners that maintain complete ecosystems. Absent fungal organisms, woodlands would suffocate in their personal refuse, and numerous vegetation couldn't prosper whatsoever. They don't merely exist in the background. Fungi mold the terrain itself. Certain fungal colonies transcend kilometers in span, generating them among the most enormous organisms on the sphere. They manipulate the disintegration of stone, converting minerals available to vegetation. Throughout each inhalation we perform, we subsist owing to their labor. Throughout each meal we consume, fungal organisms constitute a portion of the sequence that provided it available. This segment shall demonstrate that fungal organisms represent not merely a segment of existence, they represent a pillar. Absent them, our planet would appear unidentifiable. Fungal organisms existed on terrain prior to any vegetation. Ages prior to woodlands, prior to even moss, fungal organisms arrived on shore and converted exposed stone into a location where vegetation might establish. Their strand configurations called hyphae penetrated through stone, discharging acids that decomposed minerals. Throughout countless millennia, this gradual disintegration generated fragments of what would become soil. They made possible the trajectory for primordial vegetation to take basis, collaborating with them in cooperative associations that persist presently. Absent fungal organisms, terrain might have persisted exposed and desolate, and the verdant sphere we recognize might never have developed. Their colonization of terrain represented not merely a modest modification, it represented a transformation. Fungal organisms didn't merely accommodate to terrain, they constructed it. They remain the planet's primordial cultivators, converting stone into existence, establishing the phase for every woodland and meadow that would ensue. The most colossal organism on our planet represents a fungal organism. Within the expansive woodlands of Oregon, a singular fungal colony, termed Armillaria ostoi, extends exceeding 9 square kilometers. It represents not a solitary mushroom, yet a network of fungal strands expanding under terrain and via trunks throughout the woodland. This solitary fungal entity has survived for multiple thousands of years, generating it not merely the most expansive, yet among the most enduring organisms ever recognized. It's estimated to mass multiple hundreds of metric tons. By comparison, the most colossal creatures pale to insignificance. Fungi remain, quiet colossi, expanding gradually yet unrelenting, linking woodlands under the exterior and communicating via a complicated network, occasionally termed the timber network. This woodland fungal organism demonstrates that existence may exist on a proportion we may scarcely comprehend, imperceptible, yet perpetually transformative. Fungal organisms may decompose nearly everything, even vinyl. Fungal organisms represent nature's supreme disintegrators. They excel at fracturing down intricate substances and converting them backward into substances that additional organisms may employ. Several fungal species may even decompose vinyl, petroleum products, and pesticides, substances that continue persistent in nature for multiple decades. Researchers have uncovered fungi that may assimilate substances as challenging as vinyl tapes, circuits, and petroleum-abundant soils. Certain of these species manufacture enzymes that fracture carbon connections previously considered nearly unbreakable. This renders them incredibly valuable in bioremediation, the procedure of employing organisms to purify contaminated settings. Throughout contaminated locations, fungi might become deployed to devour poisons, diminishing pollution absent human engagement. They constitute the world's rehabilitation crew, converting what we dispose into something harmless. Their capacity demonstrates that existence frequently discovers approaches where chemistry struggles. Fungi represent not merely survivalists, they represent transformers. Fungi might have facilitated existence to dominate terrain. The chronicle of vegetation conquering terrain represents inadequately narrated absent fungi. Approximately 450 million years previously, as primordial vegetation commenced their transfer from liquid to terrain, they confronted brutal circumstances. Vulnerable soil, scarce nutrients, and no established networks of assistance. Nevertheless, they weren't isolated. Fungi accompanied them, forming cooperative connections termed mycorrhizae. Fungi attached themselves to vegetation origins and exchanged nutrients extracted from stone for sugars produced through the vegetation. This collaboration provided vegetation the sustenance they required to survive on exposed terrain and assisted fungi access power from Photosynthesis. This union persists presently. Approximately 90% of terrestrial vegetation depend on fungal collaborators to prosper. Absent fungi, woodlands, meadows, and agricultural fields would suffocate. The initial vegetation to traverse onto terrain accomplished it not isolated, yet hand in hand with fungi. Collectively, they metamorphosed the terrain, established ecosystems, and rendered achievable the verdant sphere we observe presently. Fungal networks beneath forests link vegetation in complicated manners. Under each woodland exists a concealed network, occasionally termed the timber network. Fungal strands termed mycelia interconnect the origins of vegetation, generating a subterranean communication mechanism that extends for kilometers. Throughout this network, vegetation exchanged nutrients, liquid, and even chemical indications. A mature trunk might transmit sugars to a tiny seedling requiring assistance. A vegetation experiencing assault might transmit warning indicators to adjacent vegetation through the fungal network, stimulating their immune responses. This network is not inactive, it's dynamic, responding to requirements and modifications within the ecosystem. Fungi function as intermediaries, transporting substances and information throughout vegetation. Through this network, the woodland functions less like autonomous individuals and more like an individual interconnected organism. Absent fungi, vegetation would persist isolated, competing without coordination. Nevertheless, with fungi, they collaborate, generating an ecosystem resilient, flexible, and spectacularly intricate. Certain fungi flourish on radioactivity inside Chernobyl. In the most contaminated regions on our planet, fungi aren't merely surviving, they're prospering. Inside the destroyed reactor at Chernobyl, researchers have discovered fungi that employ melanin to transform radioactivity into chemical power, resembling how vegetation employ chlorophyll to convert solar radiation. This procedure, termed radiosynthesis, remains uncommon and revolutionary. These fungi populate the ramparts and corridors of the reactor, flourishing within an environment that would terminate most additional existence. Certain species accumulate radioactive substances, potentially rendering them valuable for rehabilitation initiatives. Their existence within such extreme circumstances discloses that existence may accommodate in manners we hardly commence to comprehend. They demonstrate that fungi represent not merely decomposers or collaborators, yet transformers of power itself. In the most severe circumstances, fungi continue discovering methods to persist and even prosper. Penicillin, the initial antibiotic, originated from a fungal organism. Within the year 1928, Alexander Fleming observed something remarkable. A fungal organism termed penicillium had infiltrated one of his bacterial samples and terminated the microorganisms proximate to it. That single observation converted medicinal practice perpetually. The fungal organism was generating a substance that fractured bacterial protective walls, rendering them susceptible. That substance became penicillin, the world's initial extensively employed antibiotic. It rescued innumerable existences throughout World War II and continues to save existences presently. Following it, countless additional antibiotics have been uncovered in fungi and alternative organisms, demonstrating that nature represents the most skilled pharmacist. Fungi haven't merely molded the physical sphere, they've transformed medicinal science, agriculture, and nourishment. Absent that single fortuitous observation, contemporary medicine might appear unidentifiable. Fungi remain not merely a segment of the answer, they represent frequently the complete answer. Concealed within their minuscule structures exist substances that heal, safeguard, and sustain. They constitute silent benefactors of human existence. A fungal organism might possess more genetic resemblance to humanity than to vegetation. For centuries, fungi were categorized collectively with vegetation. Nevertheless, when researchers commenced investigating their genetics and cellular configurations, they encountered a revelation. Fungi represent more intimately affiliated to creatures than to vegetation. They share comparable methods of nutrient absorption, employ chitin in their cellular partitions, similar to insects employ in their exoskeletons, and certain even possess rudimentary configurations of nervous communication. Although they remain fixed and seem plant-like, their biological basis remains creature-like. This relationship influences how they interact with their environment and why certain fungal substances are so efficient in medicinal applications. It additionally implies that investigating fungi grants us insights regarding our personal biology. We remain nearer to the mushroom beneath the trunk than the trunk itself. That unusual kinship discloses how profoundly interwoven all existence remains, linked not merely through ecosystems, yet through genetic chronicles that extend across multiple hundreds of millions of years. Fungi may withstand severe circumstances, even in the cosmos. Fungi represent among the most robust organisms on our planet. They've been uncovered flourishing in subterranean excavations, Antarctic ice masses, scorching arid regions, and profound oceanic openings. Certain may endure extreme thermal conditions, complete freezing, and prolonged dehydration. Experiments have demonstrated that specific fungal spores may even withstand the vacuum and radiation of the cosmos. Throughout the orbital platform, fungi have been noticed expanding on instruments and interior partitions, flourishing in circumstances that would terminate most additional existence. Their resilience renders them candidates for colonizing alternative planets, as their capability to decompose substances and generate soil might assist establish extraterrestrial environments. Wherever humanity ventures, fungi might accompany, converting raw substances into sustainable settings. Their existence in the cosmos isn't merely achievable, it's essentially unavoidable. Fungi remain eternal adapters, enduring under circumstances that challenge the boundaries of existence. Fungal organisms might assist humanity colonize alternative spheres. Within the pursuit to establish human presence on Mars or additional planets, fungi might represent among our most vital collaborators. They may decompose human refuse, produce dietary nourishment, and even generate construction substances from regional minerals. Mycelium, the strand network of fungi, may be cultivated and compacted into robust, lightweight configurations that might operate as construction substances or defensive barriers. Researchers are already investigating how fungi may decompose Martian regolith to produce soil adequate to sustain vegetation. Their capabilities to flourish in severe circumstances, endure radiation, and regenerate ecosystems render them optimal for extraterrestrial surroundings. Throughout periods, when humanity examines beyond our sphere, we might discover that fungi remain not merely essential for remaining on Earth, yet essential for exploring distant. They were primordial pioneers on this terrain, molding it from exposed vegetation hundreds of millions of seasons previously. They were pioneers previously, and they could be again, transporting their primordial capabilities into extraterrestrial terrains. If humanity eventually disperses beyond our planet, it might not proceed isolated. Fungi might construct the foundations of our novel realms, precisely as they accomplished this one. Fungi are the recyclers, the collaborators, the physicians, the quiet architects of our planet. They function imperceptible, yet their non-existence would be devastating. Every meal, every inhalation, every verdant terrain exists because fungi are present equilibrating the mechanism. To comprehend this is to realize that fungi are not secondary figures in the narrative of existence.